Hello, today we will be discussing the difference between syllogistic and qualitative form. Before we begin, let's start with some background information on Kenneth Burke. Burke defined rhetoric as symbolic inducement. This means that a speaker tries to persuade the audience using symbols. For example, he viewed rhetoric as a play. The speaker is the actor in the play, and the message is the plot the actor conveys. The speaker has to persuade the audience. His first major book, Counterstatement, discusses the different forms the speaker can use to persuade. In Counterstatement, Burke argues that form is the arousal of the audience's expectations and meeting those expectations. Audience can recognize form. For example, when you see a preview for a movie, you recognize what type of movie it's going to be. When you recognize that it's a romantic comedy, your expectations have been aroused and you assume the movie will contain certain romantic elements, such as two people falling in love, heartbreak, or a happy ending are all elements in romantic comedies. In this slide, you can see three classic examples of romantic comedies, such as Maid in Manhattan, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and The Wedding Planner. In Maid in Manhattan, you have this conflict of two people resolving their issues, and they have a happier after in the end. Such as the same thing applies to the two following movies, such as How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and The Wedding Planner. They have all feature the two main characters in their respective movies falling in love, having to deal with some sort of conflict, but in the end it all gets resolved, and the two characters have a happily ever after. Moving on, we will be discussing what is form. However, before we get on to that, there are three different types of form. The different types of form are progressive, respected, and conventional. However, in this video, we will be only discussing progressive form.
Progressive form deals with the process of a story. It is the progression of the storyline, and the speaker leads the audience to a conclusion. In progressive, there are two subcategories: syllogistic progression and qualitative progression. The difference between syllogistic and qualitative lies with how the speaker leads to the conclusion. The syllogistic form is much like that of a mystery or a trial. The speaker leads the audience every step of the way. At the end, the audience is able to reach a logical conclusion based on the arguments that the speaker has presented. To remember syllogistic form, we will use a model mnemonic device. Syllogistic starts with an S, just like the word steps. So when we think of syllogistic, we will think of steps on a staircase to remember that the speaker takes the audience step by step and leads them to the conclusion. Now, the qualitative form is not as simple. In order to achieve the desired quality in the audience, the speaker must first make the audience feel a related quality. For example, before an audience can be persuaded and feel desire to vote for someone, they must first feel excited about a candidate. So to remember the qualitative form, we will also use a model mnemonic device. One quality is a prerequisite for another. Think of it like a puzzle. Most people put together the edge pieces first before they can put down the harder pieces. Completing the edges are a prerequisite to completing the other pieces. Once you have completed the edges, you have something to work off of. So today we've discussed Kenneth Burke and his definition of rhetoric, his argumentation for form, and we explained specifically the difference between syllogistic and qualitative form. Then we gave you some mnemonic devices to help remember the differences between the two forms. We hope that this presentation will be helpful for you as you study for the exam. Good luck!